Hey there! Welcome to Art Foundations and welcome to Art with Korb. Alright, this is take 2 and about 4 hours worth of frustration, so behave and listen up. Today what you guys are doing is, my class is looking at me. Yes, he's nuts, he's crazy, that's okay. You're seeing it on Wednesday. Today what you guys are going to be doing is you're going to be continuing to work with your animal, or not necessarily your animal, but your sculpture in clay. What I've been doing is I have been manipulating, so sculpting and maneuvering clay around. I've been adding, so things like his ears I've added on, his eyeballs I've added in, the little hair on his forehead I added in. I'm going to add in his beard in a little bit. So I've manipulated, I've added, and I've subtracted. So even looking at things like his nostrils, coming in there and sculpting that out. A lot of the form I've created by taking tools like my loop tool and subtracting away areas. That's all part of what we're doing. So today what you've got is a solid work time to continue to perfect your sculpture. Remember, like I said last time, we're dealing with a project, a process that could take 3 weeks. And when you take this class in your sculpture class, that's about the time you're going to have, including sketches and all of that. So we have more time. You're working for a really high-end, very top-quality piece. So I've got my dog kind of figured out. I'm going to continue to adjust things. I think he likes to sit with his paws a little closer together. I'll pull one forward, push one back a little bit more. I'm also going to continue to manipulate the figure, get it more correct. Now some of you are to points where you feel like you're done with these sculptures, which you're definitely not. Think about things like texture. I talked about how important it is to have a really strong sense of texture in the piece. So I've begun to do that around his backside, the side of him on the back. And so I've started to scratch into the surface with my tools, which is fine. But what you can also do is think about adding clay to represent stronger textures. So I've got my clay, and I've got my slip, so I'm going to add some texture up into here where his, I don't know, these would be his bangs, I suppose. I don't know if that my dog really has bangs. So I'm going to score that, and I'm going to add those up here to the top of Burke's head. And I'll smooth that out. I've got some tools I can do that with. So I'll work on smoothing this out. The nice thing about this video being take 2 after 4 hours of monkeying around with my microphones is I'm definitely going to make it shorter than the first one was. So I'm working that in. Now, some of you were working textures into the base of your sculpture. I remember seeing somebody who had some sort of ground texture. And what you did, what they did, was they took a tool and they scratched into the surface, kind of like I did on the side here with his fur. What I encourage you to do is think about raising that texture up, exaggerating it. If you've got texture of grass, for instance, and you've got a flat plane, why not create individual pieces of grass and elevate it up like, elevate it up like this. So you've got taller bits of grass, taller textures, exaggerate things. These are important techniques for you. So remember these 3 things today. You're going to do additive, subtractive, and manipulative. The other thing I want you to be thoughtful of as you're working today is 1, don't overhandle your clay. And 2, if your sculpture is becoming a little too thick, I look at the thickness of my dog here, I'm going to have to at some point come underneath him and carve out some of the underbelly. So I can take my loop tool and I can come underneath here and scoop that out. Now, I'm going to take a little more time later and do this, but I want you to understand that this is important so that if I have air bubbles or air pockets in there, I can remove that so they don't explode. So I'll get to that later. Remember to keep your clay covered at all times. And at the end of the period, at the end of the block, when you're done, take one of these white bottles, marked water, and spray your clay, spray your sculpture, and then wrap it with a piece of damp cloth, and then put that back in the bag. So Burke is going to be all set, ready to work on Friday when I come back. So to recap, you guys are sculpting, you're additive, subtractive, and manipulative. I mean, not as an individual, but, you know, for the sculpture. Thank you. Thank you, everybody in the cheap seats. You're taking care to do a really good job with your clay. You're taking that extra clay. I forgot to put this in my bag, and you're putting it in the bag. And that's that. You guys have today to work and Friday to work. Remember, Friday is a shortened period. We may very well be done with these on Friday. Now, if you're shooting from the cuff here and you don't have imagery to look at, you might have to be using your cell phones, your technology, to have those references images. Remember when I was working on Burke last time we had class, I was looking at a number of different photographs. Pay attention to those photographs so that you're making the best possible sculpture that you can. Details are important. Take a look at the image I've got on screen below me. It's a young girl throwing up flowers. It's a lovely sculpture, but there's a lot of detail to it. Our glazes aren't going to be quite the details that hers are, but really, really strong sculpture, a lot of detail, a lot of form. Take a look at how the figure was made. We're not just connecting tubes of clay and calling it a person. We're trying to build some form. So think about the sculpture that you're making, think about how you're approaching it, and you've got the time to work. That's all I've got. Have a great day. If you have any major problems, talk to your neighbors first, then talk to me about it on Friday. Thanks, folks. Have a good day.